Welcome back to Religion in the News. My guests today are Joe Zelinka, Judith Willis, and Reverend Melvin Jackson. Welcome to Religion in the News, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to start with you, Joe, and as you know, it's the celebration of the Church Federation Centennial Celebration, but you have a very unusual and special role, and you are kind of like a first responder on the scene after a homicide, and you are called upon from the police department. Please tell us about your role.
Well, basically, it was in 1996 that someone at the Church Federation decided to bring God's presence where violence occurs. And it was in '03 I was asked to coordinate these prayer vigils. And so I get a email from the police head chaplain, Phil Bacon, and he'll tell me the person's name, their age, the date it took place, where it took place, any next of kin. And I'll attempt to make contact with the next of kin and schedule a time to do a prayer vigil at that homicide site. And so basically I'm kept pretty busy with prayer vigils at homicide sites. One of the things that always I guess touches me deeply is at some point in the prayer vigil I will ask people present if they could voice a prayer out loud. And I'm always touched deeply by a mother, a grandmother especially, who will pray for the grace from God that one day they may truly forgive and love who killed their loved one. They're not calling for revenge. Oh, they're angry, they're working through all sorts of emotions, I'm sure. But they're asking for that grace from God that they may truly forgive who killed their baby, their loved one.
Now, can I ask how many of these vigils you've had since 2003?
Oh gosh.
Are some years busier than others?
Yes, I'd say well over 100 each year. Each year. That's the amount of violence that takes place, not only in this community, but across the country.
Now, what is the good thing that comes out of this? Something very bad has happened, but what good comes out of this when your job is over?
Well, basically I find families who struggle, who are trying to find that peace, that forgiveness. And so there's a place called Legacy House that they're referred to also for counseling, both individual and group counseling at no cost to families. But it's that peace that hopefully they find.
Now, Judith, speaking of families, you are a survivor. You have lost a grandson and also a son to a homicide. Tell us just briefly your story.
My son was murdered in '04, and I was blessed to be blessed by the Church Federation. And in order to begin my healing at that time, I became a mentor for the survivors of violent crimes. And I was able to work with some of the families and just to listen, not to console, but to listen. And that helped me a great deal. And hopefully I was able to be of some support and help to some of those that I worked with. And then my grandson was murdered this year. And again, we went to the prayer sites, and Joe was there with me. Got 2 minutes. And it's a beautiful program, and I'm so grateful for the Church Federation. I have not visited the Legacy Houses yet, but I'm sure that they do a great job. And I would encourage anyone that is hurting to go there and be assisted as much as possible.
Awesome. Now, I'm thankful that that was able to help with your healing. Now, Pastor Jackson, you are an amazing pastor in this city who's done so much for the city. Please tell us about what's coming up, the Light the Night for Life, in January.
On January the 26th at 6:30 p.m., the commemoration service for victims of homicide will take place at the Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church. It's 5333 West Washington Street. And that's a service that recognizes the value of human life, no matter whether the victims were criminals or if they were saints. And it's life has value, great value. We have, as a part of that, a light the night. That's what it's called, and that was inspired by the searchlights that World War II put up to identify enemy aircraft. That was when it was real enemy aircraft that was possible to be coming over our skies. And I was inspired to recommend to Project Safe Neighborhood that we utilize that kind of a symbol, because light recognizes, represents Christ, and the night represents evil, and and death is the last enemy. So that that was infused at a terrific cost. We tried to go to each homicide. The purpose of Light of a Project Safe Neighborhood was to reduce violence, particularly gun violence, in its inception in 2001. But it was too numerous at $300 a shot for us to continue to do it at every homicide, so we got involved to collaborate.
Thank you, Pastor. We're going to have to wrap that up, but thank you, all of you, for coming. Back to you, JR.
Thanks, Carol. Good morning, I'm J.R. Ryder. Coming up next, we'll talk to the 2012 host of Religion in the News. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Religion in the News. My guests today are the 2012 hosts for Religion in the News. We have Jeffrey Payne, Carol Sissom, Merlin Gonzalez, Faith James, and Antonio Storms. Welcome, everyone, to your show.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to go ahead and start with Merlin this time. You are the CEO and the founder of a rather large ministry here in the city. And of course, you're one of our hosts, but a lot of our viewers are familiar with you. But for those who aren't, why don't you tell them about Faith, Hope, and Love?
Faith, Hope, and Love is an organization that connects volunteers, resources, and needs in the community. And this year, one of the big questions that we will be asking our neighborhood is, what would your neighborhood look like if you could say that the kingdom of God is here? And then the next question for that is, what is your part in influencing your neighborhood for the kingdom to be a reality in your neighborhood? And then the last question would be, how can we assist you? And let's do it together. So basically, again, Faith, Hope, and Love is connecting volunteers, resources, and needs in our community, and would like to just work together with people that would like to make an impact in our communities.
Absolutely. And some of our viewers, they can go to religioninthenews at gmail.com, send an email if they want more information on your organization, or you also have a website.
Yes, FHLinternational.org, and also we do have specifically for the community, which is FHLcommunity.org.
Okay. One thing I like about Merlin's ministry is he has this multicolored bus. For those who are old school like me, kind of reminds you of the Partridge Family, but it's a trooper for Christ, and I love it. All right, let's go on over next to Carol. Carol Sissom. She is, of course, one of our hosts, but Carol has a very unique style about her. She's an interviewer at heart, and she's an author. She's written several books. One of her books is highly acclaimed. She actually helped the police department here in Indianapolis solve a murder, for those who are familiar with the LaSalle Street murders. If you haven't read that book, read it. I've read it. It's a great book. But you're on to a second murder, and why don't you tell us about this book?
Brand new book, just came out today, actually. It's called Who Murdered China? And I will be doing a book signing next Saturday at Barnes & Noble from 1 to 3. And this book, it's about an amazing woman who was a Christian. She was a missionary to El Salvador, and she was horribly murdered with her stepson 5 years ago. And the mother, her name was Marcia Anderson, approached me and asked me to help her with the case and write a book about it. So we put out book 1 2 years ago, brand new, hot off the press. It's out this week.
Wow, and you have a book signing, you said?
Yes, this week, this Saturday, Barnes & Noble from 1 to 3, the Greenwood Park Mall. And it's just basically our journey. In Violence to Women. We support Avon's In Violence to Women, and actually a percentage of every book that we sell goes to a Christian school in China's honor.
Okay. And you actually, you didn't stop being, well, you're an author, but you also carried that tradition down through your family. Don't you have a daughter who has written a book?
Yes, she's written several books too. So I actually have, funny you'd mention that, I wrote a book when I was in 5th grade. Hid it away and all these years, and I pulled it out this summer and republished it. It's called Willie the Great.
Wow.
So I am now establishing scholarships for children in elementary schools to be young writers.
That is wonderful. Carol, you're doing a great work, so we'll make sure we key in on you throughout the year, as well as Faith, Hope, and Love. Thinking of Faith, let's go to Faith James. She is perhaps our newest member on this panel anyway. And Faith came to us last year just knowing that she was called to be a host and an interviewer. She has a broadcasting background. You have a background in radio. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, actually, I do call myself somewhat of an interview extraordinaire. I do work with IC Indie Magazine, it's an online magazine, and I interview the least of them to the most of them, including the mayor this past summer, Bobby Brown, things like that. And so I really enjoy being a part of Religion in the News. I wish I could just interview the whole world, just one person at a time.
Yeah, how's Bobby doing these days?
You know, actually, Bobby's doing pretty good. He has a new CD coming out.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
yes, he's,
yeah.
I think he's in his couple years of sobriety. Yeah.
You know, we have to
He's
try to
pretty
get
good.
Bobby on our show. And,
Maybe
you know,
we do so he can talk about his,
talk about his
testimony.
change. That's
Absolutely.
right, absolutely. And now you are on the radio, or have been on the radio.
Yes, I was on
here
the
locally
radio.
also.
Yes, I was on WJCF for some time, and I liked it, but I liked more of the face-to-face. You know, being able to talk to the viewers and let them tell their testimonies. So I did it, and I felt that wasn't the path that God had me go in. So Religion and News and TV is definitely for me.
And one of the trademarks for you has been, on our show anyway, has been the shoes.
Absolutely, the
the
shoes.
camera can do a
So
quick pan in on those
2012,
shoes. You know,
I do have a nice shoe collection getting ready for
unbelievable shoe collection.
2012. Absolutely.
So I know who to. If we were to sell a few of those things, we could probably help the
Oh, there
deficit
we
of the
go.
U.S.
Yes.
But thank you, Faith. We're going to go next over to Jeffrey Payne. He is the associate producer of Religion in the News. A lot of people don't realize that you are a broadcaster. You broadcast high school sports, and you're also a music teacher. Jeff, tell us about all the talent that you have.
Well, I spent about 8 years at Warren Central being the voice or the PA announcer for their football and basketball teams. And the rest of my career is mostly here at Religion in the News. And I really enjoy working with you and the other hosts and meeting all the people that come on our show. And so that's the basis of my career. I'm not a real broadcaster, but I'll play one on TV. But it's been great. I'm also a school teacher of 17 years, where I teach elementary school orchestra in Lawrence Township, and I love my job, love my students. I'm also a father of 5 and a happily married man.
But your quiver is full.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir, Jeff.
Yes,
sir. Wish I covet that voice. Antonio Storms. He is actually, you are not a host of Religion and News, but you do several things behind the scenes. Our webmaster, our photographer. You're the one who digitizes our videos that we have on YouTube. We just can't thank this brother enough. But we just wanted to hear a little bit about some of the service you offer so the viewers would know about what you do behind the scenes.
Sure.
Just a few seconds.
My biggest thing is helping ministry go forward, and I'm not necessarily called to preach, but I'm called to help the ministry go forward, that word to get out to people. And you can do a lot through media, websites, photography, videography, social media. That is what God has given me the passion for. And anything I can do to help ministry go forward is what I'm here to do, and look forward to every challenge and the ability to do that.
And we appreciate you. We know you do also work for IPS schools.
Yes.
And, wow.
District
So this
webmaster.
is going to be an exciting year for 2012. We'll be right back. Well, that's it for today's show. Be sure to tune in next week for another exciting episode of Religion in the News. You can visit us at religion@whichtv.com, or you can also visit us on our Facebook page at Religion in the News on Facebook. Thank you again, and everybody have a great week.